What is your full name?
Michael G. Schneider,
Where are you from?
Southfield, Michigan.
And how old were you on September 11th, 2001?
I was 27 years old.
Okay, Michael. What do you recall about life before 9/11? Like traveling by plane, security at airports or other locations, and terrorist behaviors?
Before 9/11, I didn't do a lot of traveling. But what I do remember is it was much easier, much fewer steps to go to get through security at an airport. Traveling to Canada was even easier at the time. It was much easier to when you drove across the bridge or through the tunnel here in Detroit. Many fewer steps to get access when coming home to Michigan.
How about terrorist behaviors?
Terrorist behaviors were certainly always a threat, but never seemingly here in the United States. It was always some foreign land was where the activity was. Pakistan, Afghanistan, the Middle East, Egypt, Africa, those types of places. But it was never so close to home.
How did you find out about the attacks? What were you doing at the time?
At the time, I was at work here in Southfield. I was in an elevator when a contractor I was working with indicated he'd gotten a text that said that a plane had crashed into one of the World Trade Center buildings. And at the time, we started talking about how could this be, and seemingly thought it was, without all the details, we thought maybe it was like a tour plane, somebody that was flying tourists around the city of New York who had lost his way, and certainly nowhere near the magnitude of what transpired that day. But when we got out of the elevator, he actually got the text before we went into the elevator. When we got out of the elevator, I went down to our offices, and one of my team members had also heard about this accident at the time and said it was all over the news. And so we pulled a TV in to our offices and started watching the video. And this is after the first plane had hit. And so, like many people, when we had heard the actual story or the event had occurred, the first plane, we saw the second plane collide with the second World Trade Center building.
What were your first feelings or emotions when you heard about the attacks?
Because it was live TV, it seemed like it was fake. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. There was we were all men around the TV, and we couldn't believe what we were seeing. It was disbelief. It was surreal. There wasn't necessarily fear. It was just no way this could be happening. We couldn't comprehend what we were seeing as the plane exploded into the second building, while the other one was still burning. And like many people, we saw it live on TV and experienced with the newscast and their true reactions while they saw it happen.
What is your most vivid memory of that day?
It was probably as the buildings collapsed. As a facility manager myself, I wondered what was going on in the buildings, how first responders were trying to help the folks that were in those buildings, what the building managers were doing, what security teams were doing, and certainly what all the occupants of the building were doing. And so my vivid memory was how something of that magnitude, how I would handle something of that magnitude as a building manager. is probably my most vivid memory as the buildings collapsed and all the dust traveled through the streets and seeing it overtake people as they ran away, and then as people emerged from the sediment, the smoke, how everything was the same color. Everybody was the same kind of muted gray color of the dust. What is probably my most vivid memory.
Okay, thank you for your time, Michael.